The last thing you want is for something to go wrong with your plumbing, but it happens a lot. And the last thing you want when there's water spraying all over your kitchen or your toilet is overflowing is looking up reviews on which plumber you should call. So let me save you some time. Call the Art of Plumbing. They're always on time. They can locate the problem and fix it right away. They even help with solutions to stop any future problems. Save time. Call the Art of Plumbing today. 541-951-9405.
I just want to invite you into this episode. Now, my guest today, if you saw him in person, two things would probably stick out to you. One, he's a big Green Bay Packers fan. The second, well, he's in a wheelchair. What is that about? Stay tuned to find out. This, of course, is Other People's Shoes. I hope you're ready, because you know I am. So here we go.
Hey, come take a walk with me. Not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I, of course, am your host, Neil, and I am joined with a gentleman across from me that if you saw him in person, you wouldn't even believe what you're seeing, because he, in my mind, is the last remaining Green Bay Packers fan. That's why I'm saying that, leading off with that, because he's not wearing any Packer stuff today, but he is here today. We are outside of Malello's restaurant here in Medford, Oregon, coffee shop. So you're going to hear some background noise. You're going to hear some exciting coffees being made. But Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having me on the wonderful show. I love listening in, and I when you told me you wanted to have me on, I couldn't say no.
We're gonna get into that because I always like to know why people come on, but we'll save that little foreshadowing. We'll get into that. But Michael, we got to get some business out of the way first. Michael, what size shoes do you wear?
Size 10 wide.
10 wide.
Yeah, I got to compensate for the braces I wear.
Okay, 10 wide. And is there a certain brand that you like to wear more than another?
Well, I'm cheap, so whichever one's on sale. Thank you, Walmart.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. Right. I'm cheap, so yeah. So Michael, you join us today in a little bit of a different way per se, because and what I mean by that is Michael, you're in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I mean that when I first met you, going back to that, I mean, that is the first thing I noticed. So tell me, what do you want people to see when they first notice you?
Well, when I first someone, what I really want them to see is me. You know, a lot of times, and this was sort of funny, I was thinking about it last night. A lot of times people will see the chair and only associate me with a chair. Or, see something about someone that's not their physical self and associate them with that. Perfect example of that, and again, I was thinking about this last night, is a really good buddy of mine, Evan. We both have the same disability, Spina Bifida, which I'll get into in a little bit later. With that, we're both wheelchair users, and he works up the road here at Sportsman's Warehouse. I, almost on a daily basis, if I go into town, I get people coming up to me asking me what deals are going on at Sportsman's, because they
think you're him.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do look a little bit alike,
sure,
but enough of a difference to when we're sitting next to each other, you can be like,
it's not like you're identical twins or something.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Michael, talk about that. What led to you being? Are you in a chair? Like, you've been in a chair how long?
Basically my whole life.
Your whole life.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm 27, and I think I got my first chair. I want to say about 6 years old.
Okay.
what led up to that is I have birth defect called Spina Bifida. Spina Bifida basically happens when if you're looking at a spine that hangs at a doctor's office, you notice on the spine the little spines coming off the back.
Yeah.
That's actually where the bone comes around and fuses around the spinal cord.
Okay.
Well, with Spina Bifida, that fuse never happens on whatever section of the spinal cord.
Right.
And so basically the spine is left exposed. When I was born, my spine was completely open air. So because of that, I was born in LeGrand, Oregon, but I had to be life flighted to Dornbecker Children's Hospital up at OHSU. I turned 24 hours old on the operating table and spent a little over 20 days with the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, basically hooked up to monitors and recovering from surgeries. I had to, part of spina bifida and part of the spine's function is to release fluid from the brain and, adjust it out through the spinal cord, basically using it like a downspout on a house for rain. Because of the obstructions, they had to put in a shunt on me, so I have basically a bypass that releases that pressure from my brain, and unfortunately there were some complications right off the bat with that, and that extended my stay in the NICU, and it's one of those things where it's, by the grace of God that I'm here, because it really, with the time frame of when I was born, I mean that they had a fairly good idea of what happened to me when I was born. They were able to address it, but if I was 10, 20 or so years earlier, who knows if I'd have the same success and be able to be full functioning and being here on your show today.
So Michael, I know your parents
Mm-hmm.
very well. Your mom used to work with my wife.
Yes.
So sweet lady, super sweet lady.
I'm sort of fond of her myself.
Yeah, and your dad, I don't think I've ever seen anyone work harder.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Great guy, great parents. You come from a great home life.
I do.
Do you think there was any point in time your mom and dad ever considered, maybe this is too much for us, and maybe we should just end the pregnancy or any of that? Okay, all right, okay. Let's just, okay. And Michael, I'm sorry. That's a tough topic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all right.
I didn't expect you were gonna go that route.
That's okay. That's all right. We'll move on from that. That's a tough topic. And I guess the reason why I'm asking that, and I'll help you out if I can. So the reason why I ask that is in a future show, I have two parents on that have special needs kids. And he's, in a lot of respects, a lot of developmentally challenged in some respects as well. And so the reason why I ask that, and I know it's probably a hot topic. It's not only a hot topic culturally, but it's a hot topic just in general.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that shows more of the character of your parents in making that choice to say, you know what, we're going to trust in someone higher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you said, by the grace of God, you're sitting here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, obviously, how does faith come into play in your life?
Well, faith, it really does come in by large, because I mean, throughout my life, I've constantly been in and out of the hospitals, sitting in a hospital bed after a surgery thinking, okay, what next? Like, coming up 4 years, the anniversary will be 4 years this August. I had a gallbladder surgery that unfortunately went bad. And, same sort of thing. It's like, with me, some of the most simple things that might happen to you or any other person are somewhat amplified. And just really lay me out when the other regular individual might just, shrug it off and walk away. So having the faith that, Jeremiah, I believe it's Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. That's a really strong quote for me that I have to, think of constantly, because, ultimately our life is not our own. It is what is in God's hands. And I was actually when we were driving in here to do this interview today, the band Tree 63, I was listening to their one of their songs play, and the song You Only came on. There's a line, 2,000 years and still you're speaking. And within my life and all the things that I've gone through with, like these surgeries and the daily struggle I've had, just got to keep on reminding myself that, on this show, in public, in my everyday life, that my struggle, I'm there to help give the glory to God and show people who may not believe what God's miracles do.
Michael, I think that's awesome. With that, what is the greatest challenge you go through every day that I might not even be able to even comprehend on any level? I'm sure I can't. Yeah. So maybe share that if you're willing.
It's funny. I was, when you and I've talked previous, I was thinking about that, and it sort of seems like that struggle has been always evolving, not revolving. Growing up, it was, how do my parents help me learn how to do simple things so I can slowly become independent, which I'm very happy to say that I'm 27 years old, and I've been living on my own for actually since I left for SOU in Ashland about 10 years ago. So complete independence, I think, is the major part of it. And then, just they're also, like we sort of talked about earlier, with having people see things differently.
Right.
That little component of education throughout the day of, having someone who, prime example of this, I was at Walmart a couple weeks back.
Okay.
Trying to reach for something on a top shelf.
Yeah. How does that go down?
Have you ever seen a gymnastics show?
Yeah.
Much like that.
Okay.
Just without the flaming hoops and everything.
Gotcha.
Or, not a gymnastics show, a circus.
A circus.
Yeah.
Okay. But even in a gymnastics show, I mean, there's probably some climbing, some trapeze artists. Yeah. Okay.
I can't even remember what I was reaching for, but
must have been important.
Yeah. I had it, and I had this person rush up to me, and they're like, no, let stay in your chair, let me get. It's like, I got it, we're good.
So do you want help in those situations? The reason why I asked that, I have a very similar story.
Yeah.
My daughter and I were at Walmart one night getting something, and I did notice a person in a chair. And I know that, you and I were going to be talking. We'd already kind of preliminary said, hey, we're going to make this happen. And thank you again for doing this.
Absolutely.
And so I see this lady in the chair. She has a cane. She has this thing. She's trying to get something off the top shelf. And I froze, walked past, froze, kind of back stepped a few paces. And I looked at her and I said, can I help you?
Yeah.
I would love to help you. And she looked at me and she goes, you know what? I'm okay. Thank you for being willing, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. But I felt good as a person to say, well, I see you.
Yeah.
I acknowledge you. But I'm not going to rush over and do something. I'm not going to take that privilege away from you of being able to help yourself. Because ultimately, that's probably what you want, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think. I don't know.
And that goes back to the independence piece that we talked about a couple minutes ago. You know, being able to get out there and do stuff just like you would do something,
right.
Or you know, your daughter or your wife,
right,
going out there and living life on your terms, basically.
Right.
You know, there are some more times than not where it's like, you know, absolutely, you know, please help me, and there's other times where it's like, you know, just let me do my own thing.
Yeah.
You know, it really depends on the situation, but yeah, there's definitely been a lot of times where I've been in the struggle to the point where I call it footballing, where I've grabbed something to try to knock something off of another shelf, you know, trying to be my best impersonation of Brett Favre, the greatest quarterback ever.
There's still debate on that, but
yeah, sure.
So, Michael, what's a typical day look like for you? Like struggle wise, victory wise, what does it look like? Because again, I have no concept of what it's like to be you.
So typical day is, you know, right now I'm working for a great company, Hunter Communications here in the Valley, and so get up, go through my normal, you know, routine, like, you know, just like you would in the morning, get dressed, take a shower, get dressed, you know, get a bowl of Wheaties.
There you go. And
then head out the door, do my job that I love, and then come back. In my off time, I am a competitive archer. So if I'm not at work or at my apartment, you'll see me at one of the archery ranges here around town. I'm also on the Duke-Law archery team as their or Duke-Law pro staff. Still getting used to that, even though I've been on the team since October.
Nice. So you're still living life.
Yeah.
You're still not letting anything get in the way of what some may perceive as a handicap or a disability or any of that. How would you categorize yourself, and how would you like maybe others to categorize yourself?
You know,
because like I said, I don't ever know how to categorize someone that is in a chair or has, you know, challenges maybe similar to yours.
Yeah. You know, I cannot remember where I saw it, but I remember seeing a sign at one point that said, I take the dis out of disability. And, you know, I try to live...
That's a great saying. Say that again. That bears repeating.
I take the dis out of disability. And, you know, it really spoke to me because in my life, I want to be able to go through and just live it like any other day. Like when we came to Malolo's today, you were here and in the parking lot. I was running a little bit behind. When you saw me, if you wouldn't have known I was in a wheelchair in my car, or I should say, if you didn't know me before,
right.
I don't think you would have known that I was in a wheelchair until I got out of the car.
Right.
And I want to try to live that life of not everybody thinking, you know, about the disability all the time. Think about the stuff that I am able to do with, you know, having the disability is on the back burner.
So, when you're going through life, right, we all have our victories and our struggles. I mean, you've obviously had some health struggles. I mean, you've talked about that a little bit already. Yeah. But what is the greatest victory that you've encountered? Talk about that for a moment.
Well, two of the greatest victories were at the end of high school and college. Starting off with high school, to get to that point to, you know, reach the end of, you know, public education, to move on into the beginnings of adulthood, so to speak. I set the goal for myself to walk across the stage to get my diploma back in high school.
Wow.
And so basically from November of that school year to when I graduated on May 28th, 2010, probably, I want to say it was 3, it might have been all 4 days of the week. My school only went 4 days a week, so we had shorter weeks, but we started in August.
That's so lucky.
I
So
know.
you only went to high school 4 days a week,
Yeah.
not 5?
Yeah.
Whatever.
We only had to go to school 5 days a week a couple times because we had to take extra snow days one year, back when we got that big storm.
Yeah.
So basically, during my PE time, because I'm from Prospect, so out in the middle of nowhere.
It's a middle of nowhere. For those that don't know, it's the middle of
It's you hear banjos about a mile out.
Yeah.
But I love it, and being out there, ADA is sort of it was lagging when I got there, and big shout out to the Prospect School District. They really stepped up with getting grants and everything to help improve it for myself and future generation of Cougars to come through that school. But getting out there,
Getting the school acclimated to somebody in a chair.
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Changing that culture.
That's awesome.
Putting in a lot of improvements, like along the pathways, because you've been out there. It's in the middle of the woods, so
I do get scared going out there.
yeah.
It's a great area. It's just
And I sort of completely forgot where we're going with this.
That's okay. just your greatest accomplishment,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you were talking about going and being able to walk
Yeah.
across the stage to get that diploma.
Yeah.
Was that accomplished?
Yeah, it was. I'm proud to say it was. But like I mentioned earlier, for the time of not being able to practice in PE, and that's where I was going with that before I went off on that tangent. Okay. Instead of being part of the normal class, I would practice on the stage. The stage that I eventually graduated off of was in our gym. But we're small enough that we have them in our gym, not outside like Eagle Point or north or south.
Ours was in the gym itself also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, for there, an hour a day, 4 days a week, just practicing on crutches, going back and forth. And it was good for a couple different reasons. Obviously, for that sense of accomplishment, that, hey, I did this, so I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But also, it helped me become stronger physically, because, I'm not exactly a small guy.
No.
So, being able to get that strength up, especially in my legs, that was also an added bonus.
So you've never actually physically walked without
some sort of assistance. Yeah. I mean, my mom has photo albums of me back in like kindergarten, going back that far for like Halloween and stuff like that.
Right.
And going back even that far, I'm dressed up. I remember one picture. I'm dressed up as Superman, using a walker that we tried to make the same colors as the Superman outfit. So I've never taken more than a couple steps by myself without some sort of, medical assistance.
Does it bug you at all?
It does. It would be nice to have, like last night at the Rogues game.
Yeah. Shout out to the Medford Rogues, by the way.
Medford Rogues.
We love them.
Go get it tonight, guys.
Go get it tonight, absolutely.
Yeah. When you leave the stadium, you guys get to go out towards the stairs, and then you just go to your cars. I have to go that long way up and down the ramp, which that ramp itself, I'm building up speed where if someone's not if someone's not watching at the end of it,
you're taking them out.
Yeah, it's human bowling.
It's
look up below.
It's a collision at the plate.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, but,
do you? I'm just fascinated by this, and I'm trying to tread lightly because I'm trying to be sensitive to that. But do you ever like the Rogues game or going? I know you're a big sports guy.
Yeah,
you love sports.
Yeah. Love outdoors.
Do you ever look at people and you seeing them running or seeing them, competing like the Packers on Sunday, seeing them running up and down the field and think, what's that like? What's it like to run, to get out and just run? Because I run recreationally, not as much as I'd like to, but I do. And I think I remember there was a period of time for me that I couldn't run. For whatever reason, I had a shin issue and some pain in that, but I could run again. That healed. It took time, but it healed. But then eventually I could get out and run again. Yeah. But during that period of time that I couldn't run, it was awful. I was depressed. I didn't, I probably didn't like myself. Yeah. My wife probably didn't like myself very much. I don't know. But the reason why I'm asking, Michael, is do you ever look at other people and just, not that you're envious or jealous per se, but walk us through that?
I did growing up. I did have that struggle of, why me? Which I think we all, you stated it, we all have that sort of self-doubt session in our life.
Yeah.
And, thankfully for me, mine was fairly early on. So, I had my parents there to be able to help me get through that, and, why do I have to be born with that? To that note, back in, part of my disability, like I mentioned, I had to be life-flighted up to Dornbecker. Dornbecker is one of 3 hospitals that are part of an organization called Children's Miracle Network. They're an organization of over 170 hospitals in the U.S. and Canada that help children's hospitals, raise funds to basically help patients that are kids. And, I was one of the recipients of their help when I had to have surgery and all that up in Dornbecker. But because of that, I've tried to, do as much as I can for them. In 2005 and 2006, I was actually voted to be the Oregon and what they call ambassador for the organization. So I represented Dornbecker, Sacred Heart in Eugene, and Rogue Regional Medical Center here in Medford at our national convention. During that time, I met the ambassadors from all 50 states and the provinces in Canada. And I literally remember sitting, waiting for the shuttle to go back to the airport to come back here. And I remember sitting, talking to my mom and saying, I'm just glad I have Spina Bifida. Because it could have been so much worse. One story that, I am just going to warn you, I'm going to get emotional here.
That's okay.
One story, and I'm going to change up the names here.
Yeah.
Lily and Sarah. Sarah had her daughter Lily that she left with babysitter just a couple months old. She got a call a couple hours later saying, you need to get to the hospital now. There's been an accident. She got to the hospital to find that basically the babysitter said, your daughter fell, hit her head or something to that extent. And when she got to the hospital, it was obvious that she didn't fall. Her baby was shaken. Because of the damage, Lily, her brain, the whole right side was basically destroyed. Can't talk, can't walk. We just got off of Father's Day. she can't say, Happy Father's Day to her dad, or Happy Mother's Day to her mom,
or even Mom, I love you.
Exactly.
Even Daddy, I love you.
Yeah. We're coming up with, the summer, she, not even happy summer, and looking at her, waiting for that shuttle, I just remember seeing her, because we were going to the same flight, and I just remember breaking down crying right there, because seeing someone like her, and it really put things into perspective for me, saying, I have it good, and I need to be able to use my gifts to put towards Children's Miracle Network to help kids like Lily.
Michael, I think that's powerful. I think that's powerful from a lot of different reasons. One, because I think the problem that we run into in society today, and that's the whole reason why I firmly believe God gave me this platform to share and to have people on to share, is the simple fact of we don't ever stop and think, what are they dealing with? What are they going through? What in my life can maybe I help in their story? Michael, I think you have a very powerful story, and I told you that even before you agreed.
Yeah.
But again, when I'm preparing for people to have on, I'm trying to find too people that I think are away from, I don't want to say normal, but because you're normal, I'm normal, but have a compelling story and have a reason to come on and say, listen, this is what I've gone through. This is what I've experienced. This is how I'm not allowing that to define me. And I think that's powerful in what you're saying, that you're not allowing any of your disability to define you. And continuing to pour into kids, because that's where it's at. That's absolutely where it's at. Is what are you going to leave behind?
Exactly.
And so I think that's powerful. Yeah. So go ahead.
And I do want to address one thing with the story that I mentioned. The sort of additional sort of shocking thing about that whole story, the babysitter only served about 6 months in prison.
They may have served in an earthly prison.
Yeah.
But they have to deal with that the rest of their life, of what happened, the consequence from that.
Yeah, and that's another thing. On, we have stuff going on in the news all the time, and seeing stuff that happens with kids. I mean, we really need to cherish our kids and cherish the time that we have with them, because we never know when, a major thing like that will happen.
Well, I think even going back to what we talked about that we didn't want to talk about, I think that's why that button is so hard for you, is because you feel, and help me with this, how precious is life to you?
It's paramount. I think that's the word I want to use. I mean, life is sacred. It's given to us by God to live His purpose.
And so, not to get too political, but to give somebody an understanding of where you're at, if somebody had made the choice, your parents, whomever, or we'll just say in general, we'll take you out of the equation, but if somebody's making that choice, in your mind, they're making maybe a poor choice because they're not giving that person an opportunity to live out. Maybe?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, even biblically speaking, how God talks about how precious life is. That, I mean, simply putting it, if it's in the Bible, there's historians that I've heard of that are complete atheists that will look at the Bible for historical accuracy and reference. And it's like, if you're not going to believe that, what else are you going to try to justify and believe?
Well, and like I said, I believe you as well, that life is precious and life is important. And I think parents too many times, maybe, and again, I don't know, every parent's different, every situation's different, but I would also think too, every parent that I've ever talked to so far that has a child that may have some additional challenges in life, some hurdles that they're going to have to endure to have quote unquote a normal life, I have yet to meet a parent who has said, we thought about it, we were told to, maybe even advised to by doctors, whatever, but we chose to make this choice because we believe life is precious. And I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, is your parents may have quote unquote, maybe, I don't, knowing your parents, I doubt they probably ever thought about it or even entertained that idea. And maybe others suggested that they do it. And again, I don't know, I wasn't there, and you obviously weren't there yet. But I guess what I'm trying to get at, and I know it's a hot button, so I'm trying to tread delicately here, but I think it's important for people to know that no matter what, your parents said, we'll take it. We're going to take what it comes. We're going to take the hand that we were dealt. We're going to make the most of it, and we're going to pour into our son and make his life mean something, an impactful life. And I think you've had that.
Yeah, and sort of a little bit of a correction here. When I was born, my parents didn't know about my disability until I was born.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
There was no...
Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know.
Yeah. There wasn't, the 3D imaging we have now for ultrasounds, where it's like, was the kid born? Because that picture is really, real.
They look
really
like aliens. No disrespect to anybody's babies. I had one of those too. Yeah. We had one of those too, Elizabeth and I did. Really
good friend of mine posted a picture of an ultrasound of his wife the other day. I thought it was an oil painting. I'm like, okay, that's really realistic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So they didn't know.
Correct.
But I don't think that would have changed anything.
No.
I don't.
No,
yeah,
not at all.
I don't at all. Knowing your parents.
Yeah.
Knowing your parents. Okay. So you talked about, walking across the stage in high school. Greatest accomplishment probably in high school, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greatest accomplishment in college?
A couple different ones there. Unfortunately, with the size of Southern Oregon University, the logistics of trying to walk at that graduation just were too much to try to figure out and try to coordinate with the directors there. But one of the greatest things that I felt happened to me there was back in, I believe it was the 70s. All fraternities were banned from Southern Oregon University because they were voted as one of the biggest party schools in the nation. If you go to the campus, Mountain Avenue by the music department, there's a huge parking lot there. That used to be Fraternity Row.
Wow. Okay.
I was part of the Alpha class of Alpha Kappa Psi Business Fraternity. So I was one of the founding fathers of the fraternity, first one back in 50 years, or close to. And with that, being able to say that I was part of building something. With that, I served as a chaplain. I was also the head of the service committee. So I was the one coordinating, going out to the hospital and volunteering, going to do dinners and lunches for homeless people, stuff like that. So getting to see what my crew was able to do during that time was really rewarding for me. Unfortunately, after I left, the chapter shut down, but I truly treasured the time I was there. I was talking to one of my fraternity brothers just last night. You know, I made friends and brothers that I'll think of my entire life now.
Well, and I think that just adds to the Michael story, right? Is always leaving an impact, right? Always leaving an impact, always leaving an impression everywhere you go. And I think that is just, again, a testament of who you are. How has perseverance really played into your story?
Perseverance is huge. I mean, going back to the high school story I shared with walking across the stage. I mean, right off the bat there, I hadn't used crutches in years. So right off the bat, you know, trying to relearn how to use the crutches and get my legs back into that shape. There were definitely a lot of times where it's just like, I can't do this. Just dripping sweat, you know, almost looked like I did the Pear Blossom 25K, which I think you've done.
I've done the 10 mile. Yeah. No, thank you. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I mean, I watched that and my legs start to hurt.
Yeah. It's a great joke. It's a terrible joke.
Hey, it's how I roll.
Nice. Well played.
Thank you. I'll be here for the whole rest of the day.
He'll be here all day, folks. So perseverance obviously has a huge part in that, because even during that process, right, you could have quit anywhere along the way.
Yeah.
So why didn't you?
Because it was something that I truly wanted. I mean, going back to when I was born, with the challenges I had when I was born, the doctors basically said, don't expect much of him. You know, they basically said, be prepared that he will be bedridden and, you know, have no function. And I ended up emailing a picture of me getting my diploma to one of those doctors.
Hashtag you were wrong.
Basically. I didn't put anything in the email. I just put my name in the subject line and sent the email.
And I would have loved to have been on the other end of that when that email was opened.
I didn't hear anything for about 6 months.
Did they respond?
After about 6 months, yeah.
What was the response?
I honestly can't remember,
okay.
But
all right.
it was basically... okay.
Sorry, we were wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, Michael, how do you want people in society to treat you, or people that are in a very similar situation as you are? How should we be treating you?
Just like you would treat anyone else. I mean, I think one of the biggest problems we have as a society is putting too much value on, I'm better than you because of X. You know, having that mindset of, okay, you know, you can't do this, so you have no value. That's one of sort of my pet peeves. How someone will just discount someone without even really getting to see what they do.
Why is that so hard for you? That people just dismiss somebody and discount somebody without even really getting to know them? Why is that so important to you?
Because when you get to know the person, when you get to build that relationship, that's when things start to grow. That's when beautiful things start to happen, you know, between people, between relationships. And that when we can all come together, like the Third Day song, literally come together.
Yeah.
The line, come together, in the end we can make it all right.
Right.
You know, as a musician, you know, when I'm singing that song, I am belting it, because it's a powerful message in itself.
So we talked about how society's treating you, and we talked about how other people see you, right?
Yeah.
But how and why do you think people are almost standoffish towards somebody like you?
They don't know how to act. That's sort of the given there with, especially with little kids. I I was in Fred Meyer the other day, and I can't even remember what I was looking for. I just remember coming around the corner, seeing this little kid with his mom. He looked at me, looks down at the chair, and then just sort of comes in close and sort of huddles behind her, and it's like, it was like, I'm just gonna get what I need and leave, because obviously I'm making the kid and now the mom uncomfortable, because
Right.
it's the term trickle down effect.
Right.
It's trickle up effect now in that, she doesn't know how to respond to how her kid's acting, and yeah. So
I wonder too, like, is there ever a time where you get someplace that maybe you haven't been before, and maybe you're not prepared, or they're not prepared for? How does that go down too?
So funny story about that. I was going to interview for a job.
Yeah.
I won't say the name of the company.
That's okay.
But
Yeah.
I just happened to be in front of that company Mother's Day weekend. They're in town here, and when I talked with the recruiter, they said, yeah, absolutely, come in. I made it quite clear I was in a wheelchair.
So you do tell people that up front?
Yeah.
When you're going to meet them or whatever?
Well, in this case, I did, because I saw the address and I knew the area of town I was in, and I've had trouble there before.
Right.
So I tell this person, hey, I'm in a wheelchair. Just want to make sure you guys are wheelchair accessible. Oh, yeah, we're totally accessible. Well, a couple days later, I'm dead in front of that building, like we're in front of the coffee bean shop now. And I look in it. It has a big glass window in the door. Right off the bat, stairs. So I was interviewing the next day. So I call them first thing in the morning before my interview. At this point, we're like an hour before the interview, half an hour before I'm supposed to leave for it. And call them, say, hey, I was by your place, notice that there's a ramp, or no ramp, just stairs. Do you guys have an elevator? Do you have anything? They're like, let me place you on hold. We'll check on it. They get back to me, and oh, no, we don't actually have a way to get you up here. It's like, that's sort of paramount for me being able to do the job for you guys.
Yeah. So that leads into just a thought of that I have is and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but how many people or businesses or whatever are really wheelchair accessible? Like, I mean, do you run into places and you're like, wow, that's wrong? Talk about that for a moment.
Yeah. Well, and a big thing to that is when something is labeled, as part of the historical society, or the term is escaping me right now. It's one of the it's sort of like a lot of the buildings in Jacksonville. I'll just say that.
Okay. The historical society, is that where you're going with?
Yeah.
Okay.
And buildings that are national landmark kind of buildings. Because of that designation, they get out of a lot of ADA loopholes, or they either get out of ADA and get away with it, or they adjust just enough of it to be up to the bare minimum of code.
Gotcha.
And it's just like half the time if I'm at one of those places, it's like, are you kidding me? You can change this. You can change this. You can change this.
Have you ever thought about, I mean, I know you have a degree in business, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that as a business career?
I've actually been working with a couple different companies that I've frequented, and finally found a way to, to frequent their business.
Yeah.
And I've worked with them and been like, hey, if you guys need any sort of assistance to help get things up to 88 code, or because in my situation I've run into a lot of people that have that knowledge. I can easily be like, here's the number of blah blah blah.
Right.
Let's get in touch with them and get this fixed, because this ain't right.
That's great. No, I just thought, just hindsight, just thinking ahead, like maybe that might be a good career path for you. So, well, Michael, I just want to say you've been awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
My last question, then we're going to play a game. And my last question is this: why did you want to come on? Because I really feel like, I've had people come on willingly and say, oh, absolutely, I would love to do it. I've had some people say, I don't really know. And then there have been those that I've had to kind of sell on the idea of what I'm doing. You would fall into that last category of selling them on the idea of what I was doing. There was a lot of hesitation, right?
Yeah.
I'm not speaking for you, but there was, right?
And to that, when you first said you were doing a podcast, I'm like, okay, because when we've interacted, you've worked in various different companies. None of them have any sort of radio component.
No,
and it's like, I got to see what this is about. It was truly just my inquisitive self. Like, I got to see how this is gonna shape out.
I did have to sell Michael on the idea. I just wanted full disclosure. I had to have him go listen to at least 2 episodes. I told him to go listen to at least 2. And so, but he has come on. Yeah. And so now that you're on, are you glad that you did it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Being able to get out there and share my story, I really hope that someone listening to this is able to do something.
Yeah, talk about that. Like, what do you hope to accomplish that this episode does for you?
To be able to have someone who may, like I mentioned a while back, the sort of down part in your life. I want to be able to be there for that person, and I really want the people that are in that position to really hear me when I say this. It does get better. There's no other way to say it. It does get better, no matter what rock bottom you think you've hit. That's the reason they call it rock bottom. You're at the bottom. You can only go up from there, and it's up to you to go in that direction. You
love Vince Lombardi, don't you?
Yes, I do.
What does he famously say that you love so much? Do you know it?
The quote I think you're referring to is, it's not the individual that is the result of the team. Individual commitment to a group effort. That's what makes a team work, a company work, a society work, and a civilization work.
It's got to take teamwork, right?
Yeah, it's literally the most eloquent way of saying there's no I in team.
Right. Yeah. Because it really does take a society of us working together.
Yeah. Shoulder
to shoulder.
Yeah.
Not looking at anybody any differently than anyone else. Everyone brings value to the conversation and to the table, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Michael, we're going to play a game. There is a die in that cup. You don't want to shake it in the cup? Boy. All right. Whatever. I'm surprised you're even touching the cup. Most people don't want to do that.
Oh, with the Tar Heel Blue, I already feel my hands burning.
At least it's not a Duke cup. All right. Number 5. Perfect. Favorite thing for you to taste?
I'm Italian. I love Italian food.
Okay.
You give me anything with pasta. Case in point, my mom's pasta stir fry. I am in as close as I can get to heaven. Like, I think I can't remember if one of the times you were over at my place if my mom actually cooked that or not.
We had a lot of Hawaiian food at your mom's.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've ever had the pasta stir fry. That sounds fascinating.
The first time I bit into it, I swear I heard angels. Hallelujah.
I'm laughing over here, so
Yeah.
you probably heard a little of that in the background. Well, Michael, again, I just want to say thank you for coming on. Thank
Absolutely.
you for taking part in this. I know we had some challenges along the way, as far as like not only getting you on, but even challenges in recording today. You probably heard a lot of background music. We'll try to get that out. I want to thank Malellos for letting us tape here today, but also, Michael, I know I've said it like a million maybe times, but it is worth repeating. We gotta really start looking at people in general, way differently than we do, and I think you're a great shining example of that, of asking the question before we jump into help.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And, even going as far as just physically talking to someone with a disability. So many times I have people kneeling down next to me to look me face to face, and that bugs me to no end. I don't want you to have to get into an uncomfortable position to feel like you're making me comfortable. Just talk to me. Just talk to me.
Yeah. It's valid stuff.
Yeah.
So again, Michael, thank you for coming on. This, of course, is Other People's Shoes. We always like to say when you walk in someone else's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. I want to thank my guest, Michael. Again, thank Malellos. And just want to say thank you again and continue listening. And we have future episodes coming up. So stay tuned for those.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on Other People's Shoes. I, of course, am your host, Neil Matthews. I don't know about you. I was inspired hearing Michael's story about him walking across the stage during his high school graduation. Phenomenal story. Phenomenal. He's a phenomenal young man, too. I hope others will get a chance to see him beyond his wheelchair and really see him for who he really is. I'm so excited to announce we are doing a giveaway for the month of October. That's right. We're going to be giving away a signed copy of Escaping the Rabbit Hole, My Journey Through Depression, with a past guest, Tracy Maxfield. Here's Tracy to tell you a little bit more about it.
Hi, I'm Tracy Maxfield, and I was on podcast Other People's Shoes a couple of weeks ago talking about depression and my journey from the rabbit hole. In fact, I wrote a book, Escaping the Rabbit Hole, My Journey Through Depression. I have given a signed copy of my book that they can give away. I hope you enjoy my book.
Thank you, Tracy, so much for giving us a copy, signed copy even, to give away. If you'd like to be a part of that giveaway, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is like us on Facebook, comment below on why you want the copy of the book, and of course, follow us on Instagram. You can do that there under the hashtag Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and we will enter you into the contest. Of course, you can also tweet us at People's Shoes under the hashtag Escaping the Rabbit Hole. And just tell us why you'd like a copy of the book, and we will enter you into our drawing. Of course, we will announce the winner on Facebook Live on the last Friday of October. Stay tuned next week. I am so excited about this next guest. We're going to take a journey across, the pond. What do I mean by that? Well, I guess you're going to have to stay tuned for that. I am so excited about our next guest next week. Join us as we try on his shoes and hear about his amazing journey. Hopefully you can make time for that. That'll happen on Wednesday. And until then, remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Thank you so much.